One of the fascinating aspects of running a gaming YouTube channel laser focused on a single game for the past 4 or 5 years is the flood of questions and requests I can get about gameplay changes, new DLC drops, and my thoughts on fresh content. Now, considering this game boasts an expansive backstory and lore, akin to excavating buried treasure, it's taken a colossal amount of time to distill all these notes into a series of videos. So imagine my intrigue when Studio Wildcard announced they were adapting the rich narrative into an animated series. I was optimistic, thinking, what could possibly go wrong? After all, this saga wasn't penned as a novel or a comic. It was a series of notes ripe for the screenplay treatment, brimming with the potential to flesh out characters and enrich an already gripping tale. And with the animation geared towards a mature audience and a huge cast of A-list celebrities coming to do the voiceover work, the stage was set for something truly extraordinary. Now, it's no secret that my YouTube channel isn't a source of my bread and butter. I'm not relying on it for my livelihood, and those familiar with my content know I often toss revenue into the wind in pursuit of an artistic expression or entertainment, so I'm not afraid to address the elephant in the room. But that being said, my dear mum would always say, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Which got me thinking, maybe I should do a video about Blueeye Samurai, a Netflix original series that's had me in awe. Honestly, when I saw this mini-series, my biggest revelation was, damn, I didn't think the entertainment media had it in them anymore. And perhaps I should focus a video on 10 reasons why you should give Blueeye Samurai a try. I initially braced myself for yet another overpowered protagonist on an ego trip tuning into this show, but to my surprise, they dove straight into her vulnerabilities, stemming from past traumas and adding layers to her character that hits you right in the feels. And it's been a minute since I've witnessed character development executed this masterfully. So if you want to see an example of a strong female lead character that can kick ass, convincingly I might add, then look no further than the Blueeye Samurai. Naively expecting a similar stroke of brilliance from Ark The Animated Series, given its pre-established lore and the potential to captivate newcomers, I couldn't have been more excited. So for a change, just like my Scottish brother from another mother, let's dive into episode 1. But be warned, I'm going to need a pint of that homemade bathtub moonshine to endure this train wreck, and I'm going to talk spoilers. So the series kicks off with our protagonist Helena waking up in the ocean, and before the opening credits have even wrapped up, she's already pursued by a monstrous megalodon. But hold on to your hats, folks, because even though she's clearly paddling in shallow waters, out of the blue, a lead fictus emerges from the depths and decides to gobble up the megalodon like it's a midnight snack. I mean, I'm barely 30 seconds into the episode and I've just witnessed the largest whale ever discovered chow down on the biggest shark ever discovered. Now, for those of you up on your marine biology, you'll know the lead fictus primarily dined on plankton, much like its distant cousin, the blue whale. So talk about luck being saved by the only carnivorous lead fictus to ever grace our oceans. But being thrown out of the ocean, just like in the game, Helena notices the strange implant on her wrist. But before she can even begin to inspect it, the stealthiest dodo to ever grace the earth sneaks up on her like a ninja, pecking away at her leg. I mean, talk about being caught off guard. Now, Helena, not exactly the most observant survivor, decides to try her luck at conversing in English with the dodo, hoping it might shed some light on her predicament. But before the dodo can tell her where she is and why, we're hit with yet another assault, this time courtesy of Bob, the Beach Bob. Ah, the cheeky nod to the fans of the game, just in time for an exposition dump, no less. Helena manages to snatch a snail before launching into an explanation of her origins. And this is where things take a turn into the flashback territory. Turns out Helena's no longer a marine biologist. She's a paleontologist, chemist and archaeologist all rolled into one. And brace yourself, folks, because she's about to make Darwin's head spin. In a bid to snag a fat grant for her and her blue-haired wife, from what I can gather, she's been able to delve into the behaviours and environments of these extinct creatures. Despite none of them existing today, she's using Elon Musk's Neuralink technology on fossils to unlock the secrets of evolution. Next, we're hit with a healthy dose of The Message. Despite Ark already boasting one of the most touching gay love stories with Mei Ying and Diana, it's apparently not quite enough, so Helena needs to be gay as well. Flashback's over, and both of our survivors stumble across a parasaur with an arrow sticking out of its side. Of course, just pulling out the arrow from the parasaur is enough to heal the creature so it can trot off into the sunset. It appears that neither of these survivors are intelligent enough to consider that the arrow might have come from a bow, because why bother with logic when you can just have a convenient plot device? And before Bob has a chance to spout off that misogynistic thought he was about to say about a woman being a professor, he gets an arrow through the back of the head. Now, it's pretty clear that Bob never really stood a chance, being that he's a white male and all. But instead of offing him in a way that might make us care about the character, he's unceremoniously disposed of before he even finishes that misogynistic thought. Serves you right for being a white male, Bob. Helena takes a mere 2 steps and suddenly finds herself in the midst of a village under siege from multiple assailants, all mounted on various carnivores. Now, in the lore of Ark, it was the Beast Queen Mei Ying who was known for riding these creatures, but it seems Rockwell and Nerva have somehow mastered the art. And would you believe it, not even 15 minutes into the episode and the whole story has been chucked out the window. So, just like in Jurassic Park with the T-Rex, it seems that the raptors can't spot prey if you're waving something shiny in front of their face. And of course, instead of being slaughtered along with the rest of the village, Helena gets knocked down and out. And we're treated to yet another lesbian flashback scene. Because apparently it's been a whole 4 minutes since the last one, and it's critical we care about this blue-haired wife, whose name I can't even remember, but I'm sure is going to be relevant to the plot moving forward, right? A joke about farting in bed lightens the mood because, apparently smelling each other's farts in bed doesn't lead to divorce in this story. And blue-haired person goes off carrying Helena to bed like any normal happily married couple. Because why the hell not, right? Flashback over and we're properly introduced to Sir Edmund Rockwell, one of my favourite antagonists in modern storytelling. Now, in the lore, Helena being a marine biologist and Rockwell a chemist, it gives them a common interest and maybe even a friendship later on. And Helena's background as a marine biologist is what leads her to the conclusion that the environment is an equilibrium, seeing both predators and prey in equal quantities. Her knowledge of marine biology allowed her to liken the Arks to a giant fish tank. It's all pointed to one thing, a grand experiment. But with this version of Rockwell, he's the biggest misogynistic prick you've ever seen. And of course, Helena being jack of all trades still hasn't questioned why dodos, raptors and T-Rex all exist in the same time period, despite getting a grant to go to China as a paleontologist. As a marine biologist, she recognised this fact pretty quick, but I guess she's just forgot. Anyway, instead of biding her time and waiting for an opportunity to escape, Helena just straight up gives him a Glasgow kiss and tries to make a run for it. Classic move. But of course she's surrounded by an army ready to kill on sight, and what does she do? She stops to pick up a dodo because that's definitely going to help her move faster. But of course her escape attempt is foiled by Nerva, who's riding a Rex, so I guess the whole story about the Beast Queen is definitely not going to be used. And then he starts speaking Latin to Helena, which of course, being a chemist, archaeologist and paleontologist, she speaks fluently. We don't get a flashback of how she learned Latin, but as a punishment, Rockwell decides to pick out a lad that Helena had 2 words with earlier. Maybe Bob would have made a bigger impact as a sacrifice for headbutting Rockwell, but ginger people are among the most beloved, so I'm sure this sacrifice will hit you right in the feels. Of course, we need another flashback, so we're back to the blue-haired lesbian, and perhaps it was one fart in bed too many, as we see a shot right in front of Helena. A pile of blood in her hands, we can only assume that she shot her wife herself. Unable to live with what she's done, she then kills herself, bringing us full circle back to the island, because, nothing says quality storytelling like a good old-fashioned tragedy. Next, Helena meets Nerva, and for some reason he's under the impression that Helena is some sort of philosopher. Believing that philosophy will help him learn about the artifact and the island, so he pretty much spills all of his intentions to her. Now Helena, being the quick thinker she is, uses the snail she picked up and stuffed into her non-existent bag from earlier. She sabotages Nerva's wine chalice, rendering him immobilized. Classic move. And while he's stuck in place, she swipes all the important stuff he's just shown her. Next, she spreads rotten meat all over the place. knowing that the domesticated tamed raptors will of course all turn on their owners at the sight of blood. Of course, we are led to believe that she's got nowhere else to go when the power saw from earlier on shows up to save the day. Mounting the beast for an escape, she grabs the dodo because why? Why not? I guess we have some extra food and drink. I mean, at this point, with nighttime descending, her legs are probably going to snap. And being that this is the island map, she's gone without eating for more than 5 minutes. So I assume that's why she's so eager to pick up this dodo. As she's reaching the exit, of course, nobody is using any weapons to stop her. The immobilized Nerva, who's supposed to be out cold for at least half an hour, miraculously gets up in time to throw the spear that nobody else would. And what do you know? Helena takes a fatal blow to the shoulder. After a fevered dream and a few thoughts about her dead wife and killing herself, she miraculously stands up with a second wind. She smashes that spear out of her shoulder just like it was butter, because apparently a gaping hole in your arm and being hunted by an army are just what she needed to carry on. Because, you know, who needs consistency in storytelling? I'd go on to talk about episode 2, but being that it started with a young Eleanor in a BLM protest or some shit, I considered it an insult to my backside to indulge in any more of this drivel. It's the most egregious case of indoctrinating the message I have ever seen, and nothing of the original story remains, so I am out. If you want an example of a good animation and story, then as I mentioned at the start, go check out the Blueeye Samurai. I'll leave a link to the first episode, which you can view for full on YouTube for free. As for Ark and the Animated Series, I don't care for it. In fact, I'd rather rub my testicles on a cheese grater than subject myself to this obvious DEI bullshit. So in the words of the man that sets a bar for movie reviews, and being that I already know he could never get drunk enough to watch this pile of shit, I'll say it for him. That's all I've got for today. Go away now.